Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Mi channel. Why doesn't Zoro have a supreme grade sword in One Piece yet, even after facing Kaido, King, and so many other monsters out there? Based on what the manga has shown, Zoro probably deserves a supreme grade blade more than anyone else, and yet he still hasn't received one. At first, that might seem strange, but maybe it's not so surprising when we think about the pace Oda is using to build Zoro's story, the symbolism behind his swords, and which of them might eventually be replaced or even evolved into one of the 12 supreme grade swords in the world. Right now, Zoro's swords are Wado Ichimonji, Shoddai Kitsu, and Enma. The Wado Ichimonji is a great grade sword, one of the 21 Owazamono, already top tier. Shoddai Kitsu is a lower grade sword, but it's cursed and has a strong aura. Enma is also a great grade sword, but it has something special. It draws out the user's haki, which puts it on a nearly unique level. Tengu and Wano even says Enma has tamed many swordsmen before Zoro, and none of them could handle it. That alone shows that if anyone can turn a great grade sword into a Saijo Owazamono, one of the 12 supreme grade blades, it's Zoro, and possibly Enma. But the most curious point is that Zoro still carries the Shoddai Kitsu, the lowest grade of the three. Even though he had access to other swords in Wano and has already surpassed countless limits, he hasn't replaced it, and that's where the mystery begins. Is he really going to keep it until the end, or is Oda planning for him to eventually replace it with one of the 12 supreme grade swords? And if so, which of those 12 are still unaccounted for? Let's remember, only a few of the 12 supreme grade swords have been revealed in the manga so far. Yoru, wielded by Mihawk, the most well-known, a massive black blade. It's in good hands for now. Murakumogiri, used by Whitebeard, technically not a katana, but still one of the 12. It's out of play. Shoddai Kitsu, the first and strongest of the 3 Kitetsu blades, hasn't been clearly shown yet, but it's confirmed as one of the 12. That means there are at least 9 supreme grade blades we haven't seen yet, or that are somewhere in the world waiting for a new owner. And if Zoro loses or discards the Shoddai Kitsu, which is clearly the weakest of his 3 swords, it would make a lot of sense for him to replace it with one of those legendary blades. The fact that he currently wields a Kitetsu already opens the door for a connection to the Shoddai, especially considering how well he's mastered the Shoddai. It would be extremely fitting if he finished the series with the original Kitetsu. Here's another thing. Zoro doesn't pick random swords. The 3 he carries each have meaning. Wado Ichimonji represents his past with Kuina. Enma represents the legacy of Wano, of Odin, and is now being shaped by Zoro's own haki, which might eventually turn it into one of the 12 supreme grade swords if he turns it into a permanent black blade. And then there's Shoddai, the cursed sword, the rebellious one, the one that resembles Zoro the most, but also the most disposable. So if he's going to replace a sword, it's going to be that one. The question is, does he want to replace it? Because Zoro is also proud of his swords. He respects the strength of the blade, yes, but he also values the bond he forms with each one. Maybe he feels that Shoddai still has a role to play, or maybe Oda is saving the reveal of Shoddai Kitetsu's location for a future moment, where Zoro faces a final test and proves he's the only one worthy of wielding it without losing control, or his life. Oh, and there's more. Enma hasn't become a permanent black blade yet. Once that happens, according to what Tenguyama Hitetsu said, it can be upgraded in grade. That means Zoro himself could elevate it to the level of a supreme grade sword over time. So maybe that's Oda's plan all along, for Zoro to finish his journey never having picked up a supreme grade sword that was already complete, but to raise the ones he already carries to that level by himself. Because unlike Mihawk, who inherited Yoru already forged to perfection, Zoro might forge his own legend from the ground up. Zoro doesn't have one of the 12 supreme grade swords yet, because Oda is saving that moment for an event that symbolizes Zoro's ultimate breakthrough as a swordsman. He might swap the Shoddai for the Shoddai, he might transform Enma, or he could receive a new legendary sword at the very end, maybe even one forged just for him using the flame of the mother. But in my opinion, the most likely scenario is that Zoro will refine Enma until it becomes one of the 12 supreme grade swords, and eventually leave Shoddai behind. That would fit with his growth, with what Oda has been hinting at, and with the legacy Zoro wants to leave behind. Now, let's focus specifically on the 12 supreme grade swords, Saijo Owazamono, and which of them Zoro might end up wielding by the end of One Piece, whether by obtaining one that already exists or by elevating one of his own to that level. First, just to reinforce, in the world of One Piece, there are 3 main categories of top-tier swords. Supreme grade swords, Saijo Owazamono, only 12 in the entire world. Great grade swords, Owazamono, 21 known swords including Wado and Enma. Skillful grade swords, Ryo Wazamono, 50 known swords like Yubashiri, which Zoro once had. Shoddai Kitsu, Zoro's current 3rd sword, doesn't even belong to these 3 ranks. It's just a common cursed sword, even though it's powerful. So among the 3 he currently carries, only Wado Ichimonji and Enma Enma have a ranking, both being great grade swords, Owazamono. Alright, now let's list and investigate what we know about the 12 supreme grade swords, one by one, to figure out which one might cross paths with Zoro, and why. Here's where things get more open to theory. Oda hasn't revealed the names or current owners of these swords yet, which means they could be in the hands of legendary swordsmen from the past, like the first samurai of Wano. They could belong to characters we haven't met yet, like Imu, or one of the God Knights. They might be hidden or sealed away, waiting for someone worthy to awaken them, or they could be ordinary swords that were elevated to that level, and that's where Enma comes in. Tenguyama Hitetsu explained that a permanently black blade is a sign of a supreme grade sword, and Zoro is already pushing Enma toward that level. Maybe that's why Enma was given to him, not just to use as is, but to raise it to supreme grade through his own haki. If he does that, then Enma becomes the first sword Zoro forged through his own power. Wado Ichimonji represents his past, Shoddai Kitsu represents mastering danger, Enma represents the peak of his own haki. This trio would form a perfect final set. 3 legendary blades, each with a unique origin and symbolic meaning. And Zoro would end up with one of the 12 supreme grade swords, one he created through sheer effort. Now, about the possibility that Zoro might not want to swap swords? That's legit. Zoro has enormous respect for his blades. He cried when he lost Yubashiri, and he refuses to use any sword that doesn't recognize him as its rightful wielder. That was shown clearly when he tested Sandai Kitetsu at the weapon shop, throwing it in the air and letting it decide. So if the Shoddai Kitetsu shows up, it'll also have to accept Zoro as its owner. That would make everything more symbolic. And more difficult too. To me, the most natural path for Zoro is this: defeat Mihawk and inherit Yoru, even if just temporarily. Fully master Enma, turning it into a supreme grade black blade. Replace Sandai with Shoddai Kitetsu, completing his legendary trio with 3 swords that all acknowledge him as the supreme swordsman. That final trio could be Wado Ichimonji, his past and his promise; Black Enma, personal growth and his strongest haki; Shoddai Kitetsu, control over fate and danger. Or, if he truly defeats Mihawk and takes on his legacy, maybe he'll abandon Kitetsu and wield Yoru instead. But I believe Zoro wants to surpass Mihawk on his own terms, not copy him, so Yoru might end up back at Mihawk's grave, or just left behind as a relic, while Zoro continues carrying swords forged by his own journey. The reason Zoro still doesn't have one of the 12 supreme grade blades is because the plan is for him to earn or create his own, when the time is right. And until then, Oda will show us that evolution, blade by blade, until the world recognizes the swordsman who's going to surpass the greatest of all time. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.